Here's the man. He wears number 2.
I've never seen the position played like Manziel plays it.
Manziel still going. Johnny football. Can you say magic?
What if I told you your dreams could come true, but they were bigger than you expected?
Johnny Manziel had a domestic violence incident back in 2016.
So Johnny Manziel, who I've never bought into, got in trouble this past week.
Tomorrow, the 23-year-old is expected to be indicted.
Johnny Manziel and the law, just two things that don't get along.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 22nd pick to the Cleveland Browns. With the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M.
This is better than the movie Draft Day. I'm telling you.
The 2012 Heisman Trophy winner, Johnny Manziel, was thought to be the man to save Cleveland from being the disastrous football team they were. But he only made them more humiliating.
I can't hear.
We can't hear you.
There's too much money in my fucking hand.
I can't hear you.
I can't answer it or not. But I'll call you back.
We'll call you back. We'll call you back.
0 to 100. Real quick. Real fucking quick.
During his time with the Browns, he played in 15 games and started in 8 of them. In those 8 starts, he went 2-6. He passed for 1,675 yards and ran for 259 yards. He had 8 total touchdowns along with 7 interceptions and 7 fumbles. Manziel was supposed to be the hero Cleveland needed, but turned out to be just another humiliation to the franchise.
In early February, the WFAA in Dallas reported that Manziel threatened to kill himself and his ex-girlfriend, Colleen Crowley, during an alleged assault committed by the quarterback the week before. According to the report, Manziel hit Crowley and dragged her by her hair, forcing her into his car. She was quoted saying, "He grabbed me by my hair and threw me in the back of the car. He hit me with his open hand on my left ear when I was jumping out of the car, and I immediately realized that I was not able to hear out of that ear, and I still cannot today, 2 days later." On February 5th, 2016, Manziel's father said he fears his son may not live to see the age of 24, if not rehabilitated. Later, he added that his son had declined to enter rehabilitation twice in the past week. On that same day, Manziel's agent, Eric Burkhart, dropped him as his client and was quoted saying, "It is with deep regret that after several emotional and very personal discussions with his family, his doctors, and my client himself, I have made the decision to terminate my professional relationship with Johnny Manziel." On February 25th, 2016, Manziel's case is sent to a grand jury. Dallas police say that they have referred Manziel's case to a district attorney as a misdemeanor assault domestic violence allegation. In a statement on its blog, the department said its investigation is complete and it won't comment while District Attorney Susan Hawk prepares the case for the grand jury. On March 11, 2016, the Browns finally had enough of Manziel's off-the-field antics.
The Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, who hasn't come close to matching expectations in the NFL, was released on Friday by the Cleveland Browns following 2 troubling seasons.
Johnny Manziel's short tenure with the Browns had come to a close. His below-average play on the field, coupled with his off-the-field antics, had become too much for the Browns to put up with. However, there seemed to be a glimmer of hope for the former Heisman Trophy winner. Less than a week after being cut by the Browns, Johnny Manziel hired one of the NFL's most powerful agents, Drew Rosenhaus. At first, this seemed like a great move. Less than 48 hours after the hiring, Rosenhaus announced that several NFL teams were interested in signing Manziel. It was a foregone conclusion that NFL teams would be willing to overlook the off-the-field problems because of Manziel's potential. But then Manziel lost control.
Does the party ever stop?
Does the party ever stop?
Yeah.
You mean, are we partying tonight? Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller, my brother. I'm living with him right now.
Yeah?
But no, he's not living with me, but we do.
Lying about living with Von Miller was not the only weird news story about Manziel that April. Manziel also rented out a $4.5 million luxury rental house, which he trashed. Manziel was forced to pay $32,000 in damages to the owners of the property, and reports say that there was evidence of drug use at the house. On April 9, 2016, Manziel was a passenger in a car crash. Both him and the driver of the car ran away from the scene. The driver eventually returned to the vehicle and was charged with fleeing the scene of a crime. Manziel was questioned by police but released with no charges. In the month of April in 2016, Manziel was seen partying often. The headlines were filled with stories of his drunken debauchery and questions about his future. All of this was going on while Manziel was getting pressured by his family and his agent to get sober. Eventually, his agent told Manziel he would release him unless he checked himself into rehab. Manziel did not go to rehab, and on April 19th, Drew Rosenhaus dropped Manziel as a client. Rosenhaus has over 30 years of experience as an NFL agent. To this day, Manziel is the only player that he has ever dropped.
Johnny Manziel's troubles did not end after the recent NFL draft. With continuous frustrations over social media and his recent indictments, Johnny Manziel turns himself into Highland Park. However, due to his wealth from his time with the NFL and previous sponsorships, Johnny is able to immediately post bond of $1,500 and is released. Despite all the trouble surrounding Johnny, he posts a photo of his mugshot and comments on Twitter saying, "Just thankful I had my shirt on this time." A day later, Manziel is ordered to refrain from contacting Crowley in any way, whether via person, text, social media, etc. If he refuses, Johnny will face a $4,000 fine and a year in prison. For a while in his post-Browns career, Johnny continues to get himself in trouble. His SUV is blocked in a Trump Soho Tower over money he owes for wrecking a Mercedes rental a month and a half earlier. With this, he was involved in a hit and run, and later that day was also sued $40,000 for wrecking a Los Angeles mansion, which he rented a few days earlier. Through all this time, people continue to comment on now infamous Johnny Manziel. Former Browns linebacker Carlos Dansby even comments, "If I was in a situation, my head would have spun. I probably would have committed suicide. I couldn't handle none of it." Finally, on July 1st, Johnny Manziel announces he plans to get clean. However, the NFL then released a comment saying he'll be suspended immediately for drug abuse policies if he ever is signed by a team. Manziel even receives a job offer from the Arena Football League only 2 days earlier, but Johnny turns it down. In the midst of becoming clean again, he tweets towards Kevin Hamlin, his former coach, and Texas A&M, apologizing and promising to be an Aggie for life. Later in August, Johnny is interviewed by TMZ and says he would love to restart his NFL career with the Dallas Cowboys. In response, the VP of Dallas, Stephen Jones, comments they have zero interest in Manziel at all. After no interest from teams to rejoin the NFL, Manziel is seen back on Texas A&M's campus pursuing a degree. He follows it up by saying, "I need to get my life in order." He even comments by possibly rejoining the NFL and says, "I know the situation that I put myself in. I know the year I took off and obviously the mistakes that I made. Right now, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful." After passing a few drug tests and his assault charges dismissed, Manziel starts to receive interest not from the NFL, but from the Canadian Football League, the CFL. Manziel works out for a few teams over the fall, and on January 7th, 2018, the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL offered Johnny Manziel a chance to be back playing professional football. However, continuous efforts for him to play, he declines.
Welcome to the Canadian Football League, Johnny Manziel.
In 2017, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, a team in the Canadian Football League, announced they had placed Johnny on their negotiations list. This gave them exclusive rights to attempt to sign Johnny. They were able to reach a contract agreement in May of 2018 for 2 years. Johnny spent the first 6 weeks of that season on the bench behind Jeremiah Masoli. This resulted in the Tiger Cats trading Manziel to the Montreal Alouettes. Johnny received his first start against the team that traded him in his CFL debut. He threw 4 interceptions, and they went on to lose the game 50-11. Manziel played in 8 games in his first season in the CFL, completing 64.2% of his pass attempts, for 1,290 yards with 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He also missed 4 games that season due to a concussion. Following the season, Johnny was cut by the Montreal Alouettes and banned from the CFL for violating terms of his contract. It was determined that Johnny missed a number of required meetings, and this led to the CFL to cut their ties with him. It is speculated that Johnny purposefully violated these terms of his contract so that he could explore options in the United States. In March of 2019, Manziel signed with the AAF, and the San Antonio Commanders were given the first opportunity to sign him. However, they waived his rights, and he was assigned to the 1-5 Memphis Express through the waiver system. Manziel made a promising debut, coming in as a backup, but he suffered a concussion in the following game after attempting to tackle an opponent who he had thrown an interception to. Then in April, the AAF suspended football operations, leaving many players, including Johnny, out of a job. This leaves us with the question, what is next for Johnny football?
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind